Hey everybody, today is new bike day. Got my new Canyon. This is the Canyon Inflite. This is a cyclocross bike that I plan to use road and gravel. It's the Canyon Inflite. Just came in today, 2021 model. We're gonna unbox it, put it together. I got Jack behind the camera. My son is gonna work that side of the camera. We're gonna try to get it together all in one shot here so we can see what we got, what's in the box, how it goes together. We'll do another video at some point with the first variety impressions. Let's see what we got. You see okay, Jack?
Yep.
Let's just say, welcome to the community, Canyon. Check out the other side of the box just to say, made with passion, made for you. It says made for me. Got my name on it. Alright, so here's all the goodies. Let's see what's in the boxes. Is it just a packing box or is there anything in it? This one's pretty empty. This one's just for packing. Let's go right over there. This one's got stuff in it. Let's see. Nice box. Oh yeah. Check this out, Jack. Canyon for you. What is this? What bag is this? Pure cycle. What bag is this? Just a little carrying bag, a little tote bag, put some gear in, going somewhere. Nice little bag. Move that up here. What else is in here? I know that we have. Oh, this actually comes with some pedals and toe clips. Not used to seeing any of them come with toe clips. Of course, I've got different pedals I'm going to use, but some pedals and toe clips. We'll set those aside. Likely won't be using those. Here's some books, manuals, startup guide, general manual. I'll check this out. It does come with its own little torque wrench against the carbon fiber frame. So it's got some carbon paste here and a torque wrench, so that you can get your torque spec right on your carbon, you don't crack your carbon. So that's a good thing. Torque wrench comes with this Allen key here. How does this work? It's like a 5mm Allen key. We'll get into that. And here's some bits to use with your little torque wrench that it comes with. So that's good. Let's set this over on the workbench. We'll be needing this. Some bottles for the build, some cages for the build. These rags. Let's get these tools ready. Alright. Set this right up here. Good stuff. What's over here? What's in this bag? Some other kind of bag with some doodads in it. What's this? A couple of valve stems to go tubeless. The bike, the wheels and tires that are on it should be tubeless ready, but I'm guessing they've probably got tubes in them coming from the factory. Here's our tubeless stems. Put those back in the bag for now. Canyon Inflite. Some sort of little screw and a couple of screws we'll put in this bag to keep them safe. See where we need them as we move along. Little Canyon sticker. Keep that in the bag. Leave that sitting up here for now. And this little box was just something for packaging. Alright, we'll set this box over here now. More little bits and pieces of trash. Let's see. There's a piece of cardboard around the wheel to hold it steady. Alright. I think, Jack, I can pull the whole thing out together now and we'll pull it apart. So let's see. Here we go. Here's our color. Very similar to your mountain bike, huh?
Yep.
BMX park bike. Cool. Anything else in here? Oh, just some cardboard chunks for packaging. Alright. Cool. Alright, let's get our stand going. I don't know if we're ready for the stand yet or not. Put my apron on. See the guys on YouTube with their aprons on, made me want one. In-laws were good enough to give me one for Christmas. They want my tools. So let's see. Let's see, here's our seat post. Off of here, get it ready to go on so we can put it in the bike stand. Velcro straps holding this stuff together. Reflector, I think we can get that.
Oops.
Drop the bike, Jack. I dropped it there. Help me brace it right there, Jack, until we can get, I'll tell you what we can do. Let's use this cardboard that came in. Check this out. Look at this, Jack. I'm going to put this back up, hold it back a little bit. Maybe not. This off so we can stick it in the frame. This is the Italia seat that it comes with. Nice, it's a carbon fiber seat post. See if we can get this wheel out of the way. I like the little Velcro straps they're using. A lot of times you see the plastic straps that you can cut out of the way easy enough. This has some nice Velcro pieces holding it together. It's kind of cool. You see these foam blocks keeping things off the paint, keeping the metal from touching the metal. Nice little foam blocks there. Protect it during shipping. Little Velcro straps holding it all together. It's nice. It's nice to have good packaging. Sometimes you'll see some lesser bikes with maybe not as nice as packaging. This packaging looks good. Underneath that, there's a seat post clamp. This bike is built into the frame down here. Right down in here, there's a little flap. You remove the flap, and there's your seat post clamp. Let's see what it is. Right here it says 5. So I say 5 or 6 Newton meters. That's for our torque wrench when we torque this thing down. And we'll put some paste on here when we're ready to torque it down. bit to so that we can get it up in the stand. Let's see what size is that. Put some of these in my apron pockets here. Some folks debate a little bit on whether you should put a carbon fiber seat post in a bike stand, but best that I can tell from things that I've read and people I've talked to, it seems to be alright. That bike stand's not going to put any more pressure than what this seat post clamp is, and it's not going to put any more pressure than me sitting on the bike by me hanging it on the stand from this carbon fiber post. It should be okay. I feel confident with that. I just snug it a little bit. Again, here in a little while we'll put the carbon paste in it so that we can torque it down to spec. What the carbon paste does, it's a little bit different from a grease jack. You know, usually we grease the seat posts and things. A carbon paste, kind of like that grease, but it actually has a compound. It's almost gritty, so that it holds the carbon better. With this being a carbon frame and a carbon seat post, you don't want to crank it down too hard. You can crank a frame or crank it or a seat post. There's a certain torque spec that will torque it to, but that carbon paste helps hold it. So you don't have to crank it as tight for it to hold steady and not twist and move, because it's got that carbon paste in it. It's not a glue, it just gives it a little bit of grit, something to hang on to. And we'll get to that here shortly. Alright, with that like that, I think we can get in a stand. Canyon Inflite. Put it in here like this. Always like to work drive side out. Tearing stuff off. This frame is a medium-sized frame. I am almost 6 feet tall. I've always claimed to be 6 feet tall. I might be a quarter inch short of that. And I typically ride a 56 centimeter bike on the road, or previous gravel bikes or whatever were 56 centimeter. This bike, I compared the geometry on it, the reach and the stack and the seat tube length and all, and going with Canyon's recommendations on their website on frame size, I decided to go with the medium. I think I was well within the range of their recommendations with my height, my inseam. Again, we'll do another video a little later after first ride to we can discuss how that fit goes, and of course we can adjust a little bit with spacers in the stem and handlebar positioning, seat positioning. We'll have a little bit to fine tune fit wise. Velcro straps. Again, usually the little plastic straps, you cut them off and it's not that big a deal, but you just don't want to, you just have to be careful that you're not cutting and scratching your paint. With those Velcro straps that they've got here, not an issue. Not an issue. How about the color, Jack?
I like it. Looks clean.
You know, I don't know, I guess I like black as much as anybody else on a bike when it's real stealthy looking. But I kind of like some color. I like the color of this. Pretty good. Alright, this little tag on the front of the stem, it's got some torque measurements on it here. We'll hang on to that. We're going to come back and torque everything down. Right now I'm just really wanting to kind of somewhat get it together so we can take a look at it. And take a look at it, and then I think we'll come back in after the video and get our paste and get everything towards the spec. This is an aluminum stem and aluminum bars. The steer, this fork is a carbon fork, and the steer tube, I believe, is carbon also. So we would definitely want to be real careful torque wise when we're back here tightening on the stem. Of course, we'll be careful up here on the aluminum also, but that aluminum versus the carbons quite different. Help me out here, Jack. Give me one hand. Can you film this and keep one hand there like that? Yep. This bike comes with the Sram rival drivetrain. It's a 1x drivetrain. It should be a 42 tooth chain ring, and then here you go, Jack. Hold my screws here. I need one of those trays on my bike stand to hold those screws and things. So it's got the rival rear. I believe it's if I remember right, 1136. I mentioned that I'm going to ride this bike. I chose a cyclocross because I was riding a lot of road with my other gravel bike, which was a steel Kona Sutra LTD. It was a great bike. But it was a steel bike. It was a good bit heavier, and I ended up riding a lot more road than I thought I would. So I was looking for something faster for the road, but I didn't want a strictly road bike because I wanted to be able to still do my gravel rides. And, so I went with started looking at cyclocross bikes. Cyclocross geometry is very similar to a road bike, maybe more like a road, like a endurance road bike, more so than a road race. But it's probably a little more aggressive than your typical gravel bike. But it's still going to give me good clearance for gravel tires and all sorts of things. To that reflector here shortly. Okay, back on. I'm just going to lightly tighten these screws, kind of center the bars up, and just lightly tighten the screws. Like I said, we're going to come back in here shortly and get everything torqued down, put the grease back on it. I'm really just excited to take a look at it together. Screw jack. Wow. This bar tape, I'm noticing it's pretty thick. It's a gel. It's a gel tape. It's a pretty thick bar tape. I'm hoping it will feel nice with the road buzz and the gravel and whatnot. So I was talking about this being a gravel bike. cyclocross bike. It comes with the 33mm tires, which is what the UCI regulates cyclocross and cyclocross racing. I don't know if I'll actually do a cyclocross race. I might, but it comes with 33s, but the frame has clearance from what I've read for 45 on the front with the front fork. It's something more like, did I say 45? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 45 on the front, and the back something more like a 38. I've gotten mixed opinions on a 40 for the rear, but a 38 in the back and a 45 in the front wouldn't be bad. I wouldn't mind having a slightly bigger in the front. It won't bother me a bit. You see that often on cross-country mountain bikes. A little bit fatter in the front, give me a little bit more cushion on my hands. So it's a through axle bike, the front and rear, and it's got the fixed handle over here on the side. The good part about that is, of course, if you have a flat out on the road, you can take your front wheel off pretty easily and quickly without needing a tool to do so. Alright, so let's see here. See here, Jack, we've got this little red spacer. This is what holds my brake pads apart while they ship. So the brake pads or the lever don't squeeze, and it squeezes the pads together, and then you got to kind of work it to be able to space them back out. So when you're shipping a bike, packing it without the wheel, you put this spacer in there. So Jack's my 12-year-old son. I enjoy doing this with him and kind of telling him about what's going on, more so than just him watching it. I want him to see what's going on and what I'm doing. So that's what that thing's about. And we keep these spacers. We keep these spacers. We'll have them in the toolbox for whenever we might need them. So this bike comes with 33mm tires. These are the Sram G1. I believe these are the Ultra bikes. It says G1 all around, but I've got a set of all rounds that are nowhere near this aggressive of a pattern. I've got, look up here, Jack. No, I don't have those all rounds up there anymore. But I do have a set of 32 WTB exposures that I plan to run on the road. Again, riding a lot of road. I've got these for the road. It's a 32, so it's still going to give me some beef, some sidewall flex, some good volume there. And then I'll have these 33s. And like I mentioned, I may even go with a something wider for gravel, the 38s, maybe even a 45 on the front. Then get this off, Jack. You gotta be careful not to touch the rotor. You don't want to get your greasy fingers on the rotor. I know we've talked about that before. These we don't really need. Let's see. Looking good. I don't think we're going to need these reflectors. We'll get rid of those soon enough. Let's get some of this other plastic off. Here's the stem. So we've got a few spacers here if we needed to lower the stem. I talked about how the cyclocross is not quite a road geometry. It sits up a little bit more. The stack height and all is going to be a little more relaxed than a road bike, so you sit up more. You're not way over in that arrow position. But on my other bike, as I rode it more, I gradually moved the stem farther down, removing spacers, and I'll probably do that with this one too. but you got a little bit of adjustment there, is no problem. You could even adjust your reach with a different stem, 10 mils here and there if you really wanted to. So there's a little bit of room up there for some adjustment. That's good. It's like a flat black Jack. It's kind of semi-gloss, but it's a flat. I guess the green is kind of flat too. Would you call it green?
Yeah,
Teal?
kind of teal.
Teal? I guess it's got a flat feel to it too, doesn't it?
Yep.
Let's get that in there. Alright, looking pretty good. I'm going to take this off so we didn't get it. This brake hose over here, I don't really like too much. It almost seems like it's kinked up funny here. I'm gonna have to check that out. I don't know if I can feed it through some. The brake hose right here's my shifter. Here's my brake. Let's see about that. All right. Another Velcro on this crank. There's a rival crank. Still leave some sticky. But we're going to come back and get some cleaner for that. So let's see, check this thing out here, Jack. This is, of course, it being a 1x. We know how, sometimes you got to be careful about your 1x chain ring, your chain not popping off. So it does come with a narrow wide chain ring. You see here, narrow wide. This is the 42 narrow wide. But these being a cyclocross bike, there's a lot of jumping and a lot of rough terrain in cyclocross. So they come with this chain guide. Here there's a little bit of adjustment so you can move it up and down for a bigger. Again, I don't know that I would necessarily do a cyclocross race. I may or may not necessarily need this. I definitely don't really need it on the road. My other gravel bike was a 1x. I never had any problems with the chain coming off with that. The Sram rival derailleur is a clutched derailleur, so that holds tension and it holds the chain on pretty good. But with the narrow wide chain ring and this chain guide, you shouldn't have any issues with the chain coming off. I'm gonna give it a pedal, see if it'll get down to whatever gear it's in. All right, it's first little pedal. Let's change it. We'll take that little plastic chain guard off there too, Jack. I don't think we're gonna need that. Let's give it a shift and see how it shifts straight from the factory. Yeah. Okay. Alright. Not bad. Let's take it all the way down. A little hiccup there. Go back up and drop that one again. Alright, there's on the bottom. Got a friend of mine that does cyclocross race, and he rides his cyclocross on the road. We're talking about gearing, and he says that he likes, for the 1x, being able to ride on the road. This is a 42, maybe going to a 44, and maybe going with a wider range in the back. Like I said, this is an 1136, but maybe going with something like an 1142 with a 44 up here. The gaps would be wider than a typical road bike, but that doesn't bother me much. I've never really ridden a traditional road bike very much. I have, but not to the point where, that's not my background. So the gaps in the gearing doesn't bother me much. I mean, I ride I've got a fixie that I ride, and I've ridden single speed mountain bike, single speed gravel bike. I have a BMX background, so those gaps in the gears doesn't bother me much. So that wider range in a 12 speed, a 1x12 with a 1142, maybe even something like a 1042. I think it's going to give me all the range I need to be able to go up the hills and gravel. It's going to give me the road speed I need. That'll suit my needs anyway, you know. So I'm excited about it. Bike looks good. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, I like it.
All right, let's see where we are on brakes. Some scrubbing. What's in that hub? Cool. It's the DT Swiss hubs, DT Swiss wheels. It's an aluminum wheel, it's not the carbon version. It's aluminum wheels. There's bosses on here for your bottle cages. It's got 2 bottle cages. No mounts on the forks, no rack mounts, no fender mounts. Again, it's a race bike. My last bike had fender mounts and rack mounts, and all that was good, but I never really got into where I was doing bike packing and things that I thought I might. I was more into going fast, so I ended up selling the Kona Sutra. Again, it was a great adventure bike, but it was not a very fast bike. And I'm hoping this is gonna pick up some of that pace for me. If I can pedal it fast enough, right, Jack?
Yeah.
Is it all the bike or is it all the rider? It's gonna be a good combination of rider and bike. So I feel like I'm faster, and I need a bike so that I can go faster. Let's set it down and see what it looks like. You see up here they've got some paint protectors, some little helicopter tape you call it, on both sides of the front steer tube. That's so your cables, Jack, when your cables are rubbing, it won't rub your paint. It's got a nice thick rubberized chain stay protector there, so when you do have some chain slap. You see that? Set it down. Again, after the video, we'll come back in here and paste the seat tube, get the torque right, set up the handlebars right. Right now, I just zeroed it out. Look up here, Jack. This gives you some measurements on setting your handlebar. I've just got it zeroed there. We can go up or down a little bit with it if we need. Much lighter than my other bike. It's good. Alright, well, we will do another video a little later after I've ridden it a time or two to get my thoughts on that, and let you know how it goes. I'm going to put my pedals on there and get everything torqued down the way it should be, and give it a go. There's one more little piece of packaging over here too. They did good with the packaging. I like all the paint protectors and all the little foam pieces that were in there. All that stuff that was really did a good job protecting it, didn't it? What did I do with my knife here? Let's see. I like the little toolkit it came with, which I've got plenty of tools, but I think I am going to use their little torque wrench that they supply. Cool. Well, there it is. The Canyon Inflite Carbon Fiber SL. This is with the Rival group set, Sram Rival, and we'll let y'all know how it goes. Thank you. Any questions, hit me up below. Thanks.